Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Amusing Panda live stream, your musing and amusing source for all things War Machine. And this week, I am joined by Cass and producer Keith to talk
Hey,
about the mid-year update. How you doing, Cass? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I have been
You got a
heavy.
see-through shoulder there right now.
I know.
the auto the
Wow.
auto background is just slicing you up.
It is. It is. My auto background just slices me up here. I had a water bottle earlier and it just made that invisible. But no, I've been mostly on doing hobby side stuff. Got new 3D printer, got new airbrush, and working on that
Wow.
side of things, getting things painted up and tournament ready.
You're doing better than I am. I have my last minute assembled old scuttlebutt and my second pig battle brig that I immediately broke as soon as I went to play. I'm like,
Oh,
we're just gonna move around these shattered pieces for a few months until I can muster the energy to paint it for WTC. And we got Keith, who is not being sliced up by his real background, but he may have real psychological wounds from Carolina. How's the life
Yeah,
of the landlord, Keith?
it's not as good as you would think it is. There's an old movie from the 80s called The Money Pit. It may or may not have any relation to my, current situation, but we'll see.
Well, if you were in the Raleigh area looking for glorious accommodation and have a good record. Oh man. Okay, guys. So we're talking mid-year updates plus the new releases which have actually been on the app for a few weeks that we've deferred mentioning honestly because there's so much there's been so much going on in War Machine Theory Land, but we now have the update in our hands and we're ready to talk new changes. I guess I'll pass it to Keith and then Cass. Give me your first blush on the final version we inherited.
uh, I will say that it is both more than I expected and less than I thought it would be, if that
Mhm.
makes any sense. I definitely had some doom and gloom about things, and there were some things that were touched that I didn't think maybe should be touched, and some other things that didn't get touched that maybe should have. Um, uh, all in all, I think they probably did the right things. I mean, it's a mid-year update. People are planning for WTC. Like, you can't really touch things too much because it totally destroys half of a year of planning if you do that for WC for the people planning trying to go to WTC, right? So, but at the same time, like, some things need to be brought into line
Mhm.
because they're basically holding part of the meta hostage, as it were, right? um,
Shooting meta.
I'm not mentioning any names here, Cosma, but yeah, something like that. Um, and I have a suspicion that we're going to see a lot of changes again in January after this year, but we'll see
Mhm.
where everything lands.
And Cass, how about you? What was your immediate impression on launch?
Oh my gosh. So I was one of the folks that was rapidly refreshing because I wanted to see what all the changes were. I think that was a day that I was at home working, and yeah, that was just me refreshing. And then I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, well." The actual first thing I did was, "This isn't a lot of changes," uh,
Mhm.
but then I was like, the thing I actually dived into first was the command cards. I actually was really excited about all the command card changes. I knew we knew it was coming, but it was still exciting to read. The defenses changes,
Yeah.
great. I thought the base contact and within caught me off in terms of that just being a thing.
Mhm.
Um, but other than that, there were a lot of changes to things that I expected to be changed in terms of ranged meta stuff, but also some nice stuff like Storm Legion, like their base chassis getting that upgrade. Yeah, that.
Well, let's start with the base contact and within, because we were we were frantically back and forthing about this
Mhm.
before the update went live. So maybe I'm wrong about this, but the only model that is like directly affected by this, as in it has an effect that generates a cloud or a forest in base to base contact as opposed to directly centered on, appears to be the jungle troll. And the take home from this is if a jungle troll with a machete places a cloud base to base, you can't see the army behind it, but you can sure as hell see the jungle troll. Is there anyone else caught in the crossfire here that you guys know about?
So you're saying that when he places the forest, he's technically in the forest now?
Yeah, yeah, as opposed to being outside of it.
Hmm.
And there are other edge cases to this. You know, for instance, say you're doing a charge or something, and there's a forest at like 8.9, your speed 6 ass hits it and stops because it gives you -2 speed and you don't have enough speed to move in, but you are now touching it, which means you're in rather than out. Is that right?
I mean, I guess in order for the speed to take effect, you have to have touched it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mhm. Yeah, I can. It like affects charges in that if you touch it, right? So it makes the placement a little bit more finicky, more specific, right? In terms of how you can be to mitigate certain things like that. But like, I'm trying to think because like all the smoke wall stuff is that's directly centered.
Right, yeah, and they're usually relying on some form of reposition to get them out.
right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed a little hexproofy, right? Wherein the jungle troll was making a forest instead of a cloud,
Mhm.
right? In order to be outside of line of sight, if that makes sense. Where like now we're making forests to block line of sight because clouds are just not good enough anymore. You know what I mean? Um, that's
Right.
kind of the way I felt about it when I saw the jungle troll rule dropped about making the forests.
Mhm.
And I thought that that was seemed a little overpowered. So you say it's kind of a nerf to them, but like you almost kind of have to do it. I feel like because it does seem a bit strong to just put up a forest wall instead of a cloud wall. You know, there's not too
I
many things with Tree Walker.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I one thing I would say about it is even relative to Gravediggers, doing the jungle troll forest wall is a little bit of a self-punishing behavior because I've played against Bryant's a couple of times attempting to do this, and boy does it slow your army to a crawl. You are moving across the board like bare inches at a time. So I wasn't overly worried about the balance properly, but it's an interesting thing that it was found to be, I would presume, a little too strong, given that
Well,
this is the only model really directly affected in terms of its on paper rules.
yeah, I like when you're making a forest wall like that. Like ideally, you're making it with other terrain pieces that are already on the table, right? So
Hmm.
you're looking for that house or another already piece of forest or something like that that already blocks line of sight and kind of connecting to it and allowing your army that much more ability to hide from the gun line, right? So
Hmm.
that's kind of more what I was thinking, not necessarily making quote a proper, having five jungle trolls walking forward and making five forests every turn. You know what I mean? That seems like you said a little impractical because of the relative speed that you can actually accomplish that with, right?
Right. Yeah. And that your whole army is just like squeezed into this itty bitty little bubble.
Mhm.
Yeah, Cass, any thoughts from you?
My thought was I I just hadn't seen really like we haven't really seen results to back up that line of play being like it seemed like it was self-punishing. Like what you
Mhm.
said, it seemed like it was self-punishing enough to where I was like, I don't understand this exactly. Like mm, like it felt like they were clarifying in the opposite direction of how the rules previously were, and it's kind of like a
Mhm.
whole new thing to keep into mind. It's just
Yeah.
a shift, but it did feel weird to me that it was specifically called out, and I didn't think that like somebody's not running like it was said, 5 jungle trolls. Like I can see it blocking something off from being seen because of a building, but like
Mhm.
it didn't really like I didn't really see the results to say that that was like a negative experience.
Right. Well, and that's I mean, I guess we'll get into some of this as we go through the update packet, but there's that perpetual challenge of how do you balance Tristana in this game? Like, where the three of us are playing may not be where the majority of the consumer base is playing. So, it's hard to evaluate balance decisions when you're an old head who's super keyed into competition and even your friendliest game is a harsh fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Well, let's talk then. Let's pivot into new command cards. So we had these spoiled at Adepticon, and then we had some slight changes to them. So there's now 5 universal command cards, and defenses have moved from a command card to just an at cost option. So between Adepticon and now, the only change I really clocked in these is bite and hold, which
Yeah.
lets you keep a scenario element scored if you abandon it. Now has the option to give sturdy, which I believe was previously steady. This seems like the changes between what we knew and what we know now highly consequential, and bite and hold seems immensely powerful. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it does. I love bite and hold. I
Mhm.
opened up these cards, I saw that, and I was like, oh, I really love the direction that they're going with this. And I think this card, I mean, everybody has access to it though, so it's like, okay, this feels like a critical card, and it changes how you can think about certain pieces. Also, certain pushes like Thunderbolt and things like that, you have the
Mhm.
access to the sturdy to stop those things, whereas some factions may just not have had an option to really deal with that previously without resorting to something like 120 or something like that.
Right, right. And now you can say, okay, you want my badass Great Bear off this objective, come and take him.
Yep.
I'm scoring this until you affirmatively stop me.
Yeah, which stops a lot of the like I have previously loved playing games where I killed no models, and won on scenario based upon slams and things like that. So
Mhm.
this helps against that kind of play, and I think that that's really intriguing.
Well, this might also be the first specific model nerf we're seeing into this packet, even though it's not called out by name. You can sense it. Sirafel.
Yep.
I've talked to Dusk players who are a lot more leery about her now, knowing that their opponent has a once per game option to say, "Nah, it just works."
Yep.
It's
Um,
inter- it's interesting that you say that because the first thing that I thought of when I saw the uh, the sturdy, which admittedly was about 15 minutes ago, was that this is a which that this was a reaction to lasting light
oh, sure, from the house,
from
which
the
we will
house.
come on to.
Right. Yes. So that was my first thought, and then my second thought was actually not that either. It was bulldoze. Honestly, like I don't. This might sound bad, but like against against players that have not played a lot of against a lot of Seraphil, like her feet is a problem, but against players that have played against it a lot, her feet is already not a problem. If that makes sense, because you kind of
Yeah,
learn how
totally.
to pin how to pin your own models in place incidentally, right? And her feet kind of just becomes a little bit more of a time waster than anything. Like you're playing a game of how do I pin my models where I need them to be, you know.
Yeah, it's a
So
clock attack rather than a direct scenario attack because a canny opponent is going to know how to negate it.
right.
There's
Just go ahead.
there's another edge case here which entered my mind, which is Kirax is a uniquely difficult to kill caster. And yeah, sure, 1320 is a really good armor profile with a high number of boxes and transfers, but it's actually repel that makes him obnoxious. And he becomes a lot more killable if you have to do the job on a scenario objective.
Well, the other thing that the second thing that this brought to mind was bulldoze, actually, where I remember actually Cass winning some games by just bulldozing people out of the zone, which is fantastic. But like this will stop that, and
Yeah,
you know for some factions, bulldoze is a very good scenario opportunity. So.
And so one last note, obviously Gravediggers keep their ability to take a lineup of 8 command cards, including the bespoke, plus the generic ones. Same for Grimkin and their Arcana. Cass diligently checked the Khador armies before the cast and found out, oh no, they kept their signature command cards.
Yep.
Maybe I'm a bit of a hater, but take me to what I consider the biggest so what in War Machine.
The model unit tough. It's warrior model unit tough for the motherland. It's also important to mention for Gravediggers, that military engineering is now the only source of getting rid of defenses in cards.
In cards, yeah. Obviously, Kithgard still has the pygmy unit, the tunnel rats, and then Winter Core. I'm trying to remember how exactly the controller works. I'm pretty sure the shtick is still you have a controller. The controller creates a powder keg and then immediately throws it.
I don't know if he immediately throws it. Maybe he does. I think he can create it and not throw it. I don't recall.
It's not a star action. It's a mini.
Yeah, I think it's a mini.
The powder keg did get changed demolition of the following text. Medium base or larger model with the throw power attack weapon quality within 1 inch of this terrain feature can make a demolition star action during its activation when it okay, so controllers can throw kegs. So those are the two factions that without bringing an 80 or 120 mil can blow up defenses. I guess we'll sort of pivot off of For the Motherland because like tough is a what. What do you guys think? And what do you guys think about these being moved to a points option? I ask as somebody who hasn't played a defense in a year and a half.
I think that you're going to see defenses less, and I don't know, as their point costing is rough. They're competing with actual models that do work,
right?
I've like, you're basically taking an inconsequential model is what you're doing. Like, it can't be killed except by very specific means, but like, while it does things, is it actually worth its points compared to your other faction options? I think it's useful for some factions that have issues finding 1 point options. Just throwing a defense in can be useful, like a spike trap. But
I'll give you a twist on that. So
I was going to say I kind of disagree with you a little bit, and
go ahead.
This is why. with the ubiquity of being able to just automatically remove them, which I think was a huge reason why a lot of people weren't taking them, is because everybody had access to just, I get to remove a defense of my choice. Whichever one was the most useful to you is now gone, because honestly, like, if you brought 3 defenses, usually there was only really one that you cared about. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that was automatically just going to go away. So it kind of makes them feel a lot more worth it to have on the table if you have a plan for them. If you're just putting them out to put them out, then yeah, you're going to lose points there. But if you have a plan for them, I think they're going to be a lot better. So I think in the right hands, they're going to be great. In the kind of like the place of, I don't know what I want them for, I don't have a specific plan for them, I think that then in that case they're largely going to go away. I'm interested to see how it ends up playing out. I know that I feel a lot better about my light airdrops. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you can
mantlets, wonderful.
Yeah, you can drop mantlets and they stick. But this is, Keith, you had exactly the same the same thought I did, which is, sort of the reason this matters is actually the sapper card was low key more powerful than the defenses card.
Right.
Because defenses are, you take 3, you set them up, and if your opponent had the option of the sapper card, it's not your opponent sets up 1 less defense. It's not you deploy all your defenses and your opponent vetoes them. It's you play the game until one of them really, really matters, like you planned on it mattering, and your opponent says it doesn't exist anymore.
And they get to do it on their turn.
Yeah. The sapper card in its instantiation, you remove 1 defense, was actually more powerful than place 3 defenses.
Yeah, I think if the sapper card was like, must be played at the beginning of the game after defenses have been played, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it was a veto card
before they had the additional information of where your troops landed, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think then it's a little,
or even before, like when your troops were fighting.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, I think in that world I could see defenses being worth 1 point. Barriers are a little hard for me to justify at 2, but there you are.
Yeah,
I'm also curious, how many do you think are worth taking? Because I don't think 3 are worth taking.
No way.
I mean,
no way 3 are worth taking.
I am kind of with you a little bit on this, Cass. I kind of almost want to see, like, you get for maybe you get pay 2 points for 3 defenses, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of 1 each, or the extra cost for the barriers or whatever. You know what I mean?
Here's some technology though that, like, I don't think I've ever heard discussed. I have to check the wording, but technology I've never heard discussed is like, maybe you're playing Valix and you choose to take 3 powder kegs and just set them up somewhere that is going to matter, and say on feat turn, everybody in the neighborhood of these powder casks is going to take POW 14s or whatever.
Oh, you just put them on. You just put your powder kegs all just on your side of the 40s, so that way when the enemy lands their unit to score it, you just throw.
Oh, hilarious! You contested.
Like, yeah, exactly. Your whole unit's gone.
I think if Valix has a point or 2 sitting spare and he's already got the Arc Node solo, he might be positively disposed toward these.
Oh yeah. Like I don't think there's a 1 point option in Shadowflame either.
There is not.
So this is good for Shadowflame in terms of 1 point options. It gives you one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or you have somewhere like Storm Legion where, like, you guys have 1 point options. Like 3 is the lowest they get.
So you have 2 and 1 point options. So. Yeah, I think that is intriguing on what factions it actually ends up shaping to have more defenses.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a limit to the number of defenses you can take? It says 1 over 6 here on this.
You're going to have 3 defenses. Yeah, it's still 3.
Okay.
And they still deploy the same way.
That's kind of my only kind of
What, you're going first and you don't like that you have to pay, or that you have paid a point for a defense that you can't set up?
yeah, if you're paying points, then you should definitely get to deploy them regardless of whether or not you're going first, right? Because
But you can choose not to have the defense and not spend the point. You can just have 2 defenses.
that's true, but then you're never going to have 3 defenses if you do that, right? So
It's
you're saying
true.
the actual limit then is 2 defenses? Because if you go first, then you've made your list 2 points less worth it.
I mean, every time you watch somebody deploy 2 defenses, they put down like a barrier and a spike trap, and they have a second barrier in their hand, and they're like, "What do I do with this?"
Yeah.
Oh, Stephen Williams up there with Storm Legion as standard bearers. Those are 1 point. That's true, but they require you to take Storm Legion units.
Gravediggers doesn't have any 1-point models.
Oh, I thought they changed the defense deployment so you can deploy all 3 even if you are the first player. They might have.
Well, that's what I was
am not
asking.
necessarily a wordsmith, so well, we've been talking about defenses, which are like the bottom 6% of your list at most. So let's pivot into, we got a lot of factions to run through, so let's keep these quick. And I think this one is relatively quick to go through. Necrofactorium.
Okay.
So the changes are typically 1 to 2 models per faction. Some have more. We have Morton Ebra Perfected, Reduce, Reuse, Recycle, which is Crick's Thagrosh feat of Revive a Dead Heavy, has to forfeit whole activation, has turned into forfeit mover combat action. And then Sepsira technically gets touched just to remove her elite cadre of Combo Strike and give it to the Mechanothrall Swarm unit baseline. Hot takes on this one?
I like the Morton Arbor change because it gives you an interesting line of play, and I kind of saw the Sepsira change coming, giving back Mechanothrall Swarm Combo Strike so that it's more tempting to take them in your other lists outside of just taking them in Sepsira.
Well, what's crazy about the Morton Ebra change is I think in 9 games out of 10, what this feat change is going to look like is Morton Ebra activates a heavy, brings it back, and then it walks to a secure position where it threatens scenario and is going to wreck your opponent's life next turn. The other alternative is you're playing Morty and you're in a melee scrum versus melee scrum matchup, and you're piece trading back and forth. Morty upkeeps synergy, pops mobility, charges something, pops feet, and drops a heavy in and says, I brought my friend.
Yep.
So, you know, on the 1 in 10 chance that happens, it's pretty spicy. Neat thing about Crix is they are going to give them a whole new model as well. That was a big surprise. Yeah, the Swarm Warden. Yeah, Mechanothrall Swarms picking
Swarm
up
Warden,
a new suite of rules and picking up a new model.
Yep, they're going to get a UA. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the decisive thing for like for any UA is going to come down to cost, particularly with Mechanothrall Swarms being a unit on the cheapish side, and cheapish for a reason. You know, it's going to be make or break on what the point cost on this thing is.
I don't understand what you mean by that. Cheapish for a reason. I mean, to me, Mechanothralls are
12, 13, bro.
Yeah, but they're 6 points. They're all shield guards. They have either 2 attacks or a combo strike now. So, like, they can do the job that you need them to do.
Well, they are shield guards with a solo. So you're also putting the solo's cost in as well.
Okay, fair.
I was also gonna say, like, listen here, Sonny. I'm running a faction defined by a 12-13 defensive stat unit, and I'm on unaliving watch.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they're undead, so they can bring them on. They can bring them back. You know, like, I don't know. It. I think they do a lot for their point cost. I think they're a much better unit than maybe people give them credit for. And you can bring droves of them. So that and you know, if you're good at interlocking your units, you know, it can be very difficult to eliminate them. Um, in a way that doesn't allow your opponent to just bring a whole bunch of them back the following turn, and then you're kind of not you haven't made as much progress as you thought. You know. Um,
The thing is, like, okay, you're paying for Mechanothrall swarms and you're paying for a Scarlock lieutenant. You know, that's a decent sum of points, but it keeps your army alive. What if those Mechanothrall swarms graduate to costing 8 points apiece, though?
Yeah. Also, yeah, and you have to compare that to brutes. Brutes are 7 points for 3. They're 12-17s with unyielding 8 boxes, 2 power 14s, a mat higher, and they have combo strike. Like it brutes are amazing. It's less dudes, but they hit hard, they're tough. Yeah, and they don't need to run support models to make them good. They're just good.
Right. And like we saw from the finals of Adepticon, you know, like brutes to the hilt, sludgies and criterions to the hilt, like it's viable. So, you know, you have to really be wary of the opportunity cost here. But that said, actually, let's get into the particular chicken bone in Keith's craw. Let's talk Gravediggers. Keith, you want to
sorry,
take
I
us
just
away
couldn't
on
bring
this
up
one?
Necrofactorium because the computer version is not synced properly right now with my phone version, and it's not allowing me to create new forces to look at them.
All right.
I can open up.
Talk to us about how you feel about Kane losing Mage Sight and gaining a cost 1 spell that gives a model True Sight.
Gives
and then
this model True
Roscoe,
Sight.
oh my goodness.
This model.
And then you have Roscoe cutting our arcane precision, gaining augmented ammunition, gaining reload 1, and the feat no longer gives her a free shot. Also lets her jack smack an additional time instead of shoot.
Well,
as an option in addition to shoot.
Well, her feat already did that. But let's talk about Kane first. I mean, Kane, like, I can't believe they nerfed Kane. I mean, it's so awful. It's so awful. Look, this guy's holding up the banner of 2 factions. How can you possibly afford to nerf him? In any way, he's only got a 53% win percentage. And like, you know, he can't afford to falter any further than he already is, because like the 2 factions go down if he falters. I mean, the pressure on Kane is immense. Like,
we've talked about
yes,
this
thank you,
before.
Steven. I'm glad somebody's on my side over here. Unplayable trash.
We've talked about this before, and this is actually really just a nerf to Storm Legion Kane, because Gravediggers Kane kind of just takes deuce and doesn't care.
Unplayably bad, I said. Unplayably bad.
Okay. What about Roscoe? Is she playably bad?
Unplayably bad. No. I think I like the direction that they're going with Roscoe. She really needs to be able to shoot at least twice every turn if she
100%
is
agree.
going to be able to live, because she kind of needs to, at least the way she's designed currently, she kind of needs to play like Lilith, right? Like where she's able to kill a model to get away and still do some effect, right? And with only being able to have 2 shots on her feet turn previously, it makes it difficult. Now, I kind of just wish that they'd given her a second shot for free, or if they weren't going to give her a second shot,
I would have preferred a second shot for free. Yeah, because she's so
Same.
focus strapped.
Yeah, and well, so my other thing was, if they were going to give her reload 1, they should have made her a 7, right? and now you have the option to shoot twice, or maybe you have a little bit more focus, but you get to make the choice, right? So it gives you a little
because
bit
either
more.
way, her focus map is constrained.
It is very, yeah.
Mhm.
So I was generally with you, and part of the reason the timing of like we finally review the updates and the new releases, I got to play at a tournament in Tucson the other day, and I both played against and saw a good number of Roscoe games there. And I gotta say that while her focus map is still a problem, these changes are actually quite transformative to her. I've said in the past, one of the problems with Gravedigger's design space is that they have 4 of the same caster. And that being McCoy, Roscoe, Hasker, and Sparkhammer. And it's kind of a debate as to who's best, but sort of Sparkhammer and Hasker are the obvious emergent answers. In practice, this suite of changes makes Roscoe at least credible, if not in solid contention for the top 2 slot of who's going to be your off list to Kane. So I was quite, while it seems minor on paper, I think Roscoe got a big glow up, and I think there's even a threat for her to take the top slot as designated number 2 caster.
The
If
top
people
slot as a designated number 2.
Yeah, I know there's so many qualifiers on that, but like there's more qualifiers on that than the than the IG Invitational. But I think there's a real discussion to be had about Roscoe, and I think the impetus is on the Gravediggers players to do the digging.
Well, here's the thing. So like, if it wasn't, I'd feel a lot better about it if it wasn't +2 rat only to battle group. They
Mhm.
did lower like the heavies rat down to rat 5 in January, right? So this puts them up to rat 7 with this, right?
Mhm.
Which isn't
Mhm.
nothing. I mean, it's still an elite rat and nothing to complain about, but it's not, necessarily the bee's knees. It kind of can save you some focus to use the crate, right? Like, as you're kind of getting like a half powerful attack for free, right?
Mhm. Oh,
Uh,
you're getting more than a half. That's quite substantial, especially with
so
crate
a
hitters
half would be,
boxes.
so it would be like one in this goes like you're talking about averages 3.5 on both ends. So
If we're
you
gonna get really academic on the math, yes, it's a half.
right? I mean, it's a little slightly more than a half. I'll grant you, but not a lot more than half, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
When we start members only on this channel, we do actually need to deliver the Mathisode
I
someday.
mean, I just had to trust me. I've had the Mathesode delivered to me many times over the last couple of weeks, and it's come in sums of money that don't make my bank account happy. So one
We'll
resolution
give
at a
you
time when it comes to
$500
math.
a month for this fully furnished home.
uh, anyhow, but this is not. I mean, we're talking now about really a +2 rat, right? Difference. I would kind of feel better if it wasn't battle group, because the Rangers can kind of use that rat to come back from the loss of combined range. It would be interesting for her to have like super good Rangers be able
Mhm.
to be played in her list, right? But I guess
I mean,
it is kind of, she does kind of encourage you to be battle group focused with her um, feet, right? Because you get the extra attack.
so consider this as a note. It's not the whole story, but boy, is it a story. If you're playing against Fane, Dusk, Fane, House Callus, or Necrofactorium, Roscoe is going to effing kill you. you know,
Yes.
like, oh, I'm going to use focus to sponge damage. Like, great. I hope you like sponging 2 pound 19, 4 dice for damage rolls, buddy. So I think that's alluding to what Stephen Williams is saying. it's niche, but like the more undead and constructy we get, Roscoe stocks may be rising for best of the second best.
We have Reaper Covenant coming out.
Oh God, yeah, Reaper Covenant even.
And Black Fleet is going to have undead models in it because it's having the ghosts. So yeah, that like more undead models are entering the meta.
Yeah, I mean, decrepitation is a rule too. Like, so I mean that
I know.
helps. That doesn't just help Roscoe. Like, it just means that Deuce's stock also is rising, which is good, I guess, kind of for both.
Yeah.
Storm Legion and Gravediggers, right?
Well, let's talk about Kane Senior getting nerfed in Gravediggers. Kane loses True Sight, or in Storm Legion rather. Kane loses True Sight. Doesn't matter in Gravediggers. Matters a fair amount in Storm Legion.
Yeah, I don't know what Storm Legion actually has that sees through stealth. Other
Not
than
much.
Kane.
Deuce.
Yeah. Deuce. Yeah.
Wait, and it's also that the configuration in Gravediggers is you're running Selfish Kane. In Storm Legion, you're running Synergy Kane. But let's talk about the consequential stuff. Strikers, +1 defense, +1 POW on primary melee weapons.
Yep.
Coursers,
Love that.
+1 defense, +1 POW on primary melee weapons. You may ask, what is a primary melee weapon on a Courser? I've never heard of or seen that. And then the dodge head, +1 cost. You may ask, what is the dodge head? I've never seen it.
Oh, this is not what I thought it was.
But it's worth mentioning Coursers are now elite chicken jacks. And,
I know.
And the Striker is actually a remarkably jammy target. So what do you guys make of this? Is this enough to salvage a faction that was on the ropes before? Or at least make compelling?
Remind me what it was that they got that was the minus to the point cost on theirs.
Oh, yeah, the heavy storm thrower went from cost 3 to 2, which is actually big news for Kane.
It's a huge buff, I think. I mean, that's a 50% cost reduction, right, on that weapon.
Yeah, it does mean you can comfortably run 4 electro grenade launcher and heavy storm thrower shield guard coursers and thunderhead with Kane, which might be pretty spicy even if you can't ignore stealth on your battle group.
Yeah, I mean, certain things don't care about stealth. Like when you slam something into a stealth model, it doesn't care that it's stealth, right? So and electro leap doesn't care either.
Yeah, and the heavy storm thrower is a spray.
And sprays don't care either, right?
Yeah. I like it. I like the defense change. Like, this is, like you said, elite chicken. I love chickens. And I really like this change because the fact that you can get a super cheap, very defensible shield guard or arc node, like, yes.
Or that you can have, I think for 11 points, a 13-18 striker with set defense and a reasonable gun and a qualitatively good melee weapon as opposed to so-so. So, like, to my mind, Kane in Storm Legion is neat, but the biggest beneficiaries of this change are actually Huxley and Calder. I don't know that it's enough to drag me back into the faction, but boy, does it make me rub my chin, you know?
Well, think about this too, like with the removal of the spell rack, right? You know, the arcane shield tax that they were kind of paying for, right, is no more, but yet they never really kind of got a bump up for it, right?
They weren't paying arcane shield tax. They were paying snipe tax, electrify tax, and as of like 3 years ago, jackhammer tax. Those are the taxes they were paying.
Sure,
and
but
they were paying electrify tax until last Thursday.
Right, and that's kind of my point. They were paying taxes. They never got them kind of compensated back for once the spell rack went away, right? And so now we're kind of seeing them get their, a late tax return.
This is reparations for ruining Jackhammer in 2024.
Well, yeah. Well, and we'll see, because Storm Legion, I think, has been struggling, at least compared to what they have historically been doing in the meta. So I'm hoping that this will give them a little bit more toys to play with going forward. So
let's see. I'm actually trying to look up in my message. So the next one we're looking at is Dusk House Callus. So Helith gains 2 points of range. Her feat now affects battle group for the armor buff, in addition to debuffing your opponents and buffing your warriors. Loses fire group, gains force wall. What do we make of this one?
They're getting rid of a lot of fire group.
They're getting rid of, as far as I can tell, all fire group, or at least all fire group from new models.
Yeah, all fire group from Prime is what it looks like. I would have to look in the Wayback Machine because I thought that there was a model with fire group at this point. But yeah, they're getting rid of it. And I thought that was a positive change against the gun meta. They compensated her with making it so the +2 affects everything, not just warriors, and they gave her 2 to her base range for herself. Force wall. Force wall's good. It lasts 1 round though, so it's expensive. So you're gonna it's cost 2. You're gonna cast it with your attachment likely on something. Because spending 2 off of her, I don't remember her having the highest focus in the world.
No, she's a focus 6, yeah.
Yeah. Some.
But I mean, it's not an upkeep, so you can put it on multiple units in the beginning of the game and still camp 2 or 4 or whatever. Not that that's necessarily what you would do, but it's a thing you could do. I it's like you say, that I kind of feel like fire group is getting rid of fire group was kind of a reaction to what we've been seeing in the gun meta. If that makes sense.
I mean, just as a design space, if you are a game designer in a game that is highly positional and rewards positioning strategy, never design anything whose entire identity is shoot harder. It is impossible to balance. Either it ends your game or it is underpowered. There is literally no middle ground. And it is a wise move to tamp down on shoot harder. And even if not fully effective, at least encourage some shoot different. You straight up cannot make this design space work. It is unworkable.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, there's a big difference between a model getting +3 range and all models getting +2 range, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. But it's doubling down on an identity that, and we're going to see this with Kishtar too, that also incentivizes this. So,
right, and I do like that they, like Cass mentioned, they compensated her personally by giving her back the 2 inches of range, right? Even though she's not continuing to give it to her battle group, and which once again is mirrored in Kishtar as well. So I think that was a good compensation.
Agreed.
Yeah. Old Umbre, Yana Kavaski, nerfed in Winter Core, buffed in Winter Core. So she
nerfed in Umbre, you mean?
I mean, kind of. This was she was Sir not appearing in this film in Old Umbre. I watched some people try and make her work, and it was more of a meme than anything. To my mind, the biggest changes are Pikeman's Pikeman spam with Yana is not as strong as it was. Jax, though.
Jax, though. They can have 4 focus.
Yep. So feat returns to cleave instead of additional attack, and then she gains an ability that augments conferred rage, allowing Jax to be allocated up to 4 focus. Is this one of the biggest so what's since For the Motherland? Does anybody care?
I mean, okay, so
how... Oh, I'm sorry. Since For the Motherland and Windwall, which is not nearly the spell it once was.
Yeah, and what, like, how expensive is the Empower unit? 4 points, 3 points,
4 points on top of your very expensive Great Bears and Direwolves. Yeah,
exactly. Like, it's focus intensive. Like, it's a so what. It's a so what, and the feat is a nerf to the infantry in general. Like, cleave is no extra attack. And even an extra attack, while I think is good, is like, it's
on old Umbra units, like witch, like it's chosen of the witch, and then who gives a single flying French about this in old Umbra? I mean, I guess the battle group, but like,
I mean, they already hit super hard, so
right, exactly. So here's the thing: this caster was changed pretty dramatically, and as far as I can tell, nobody cares. Let's talk about a caster that was mildly nerfed / lateral moved, and everybody is up in arms about. Bodan Lesnoy loses 2 inches off of Befuddle's baseline range, goes to a 2-inch place instead of a 3-inch advance, which in the hierarchy of move your opponent's models abilities, advance is at the top. This is the best one. It's literally the best because it bypasses virtually everything. Then there's place, then there's push, and slams and throws are in their own special tier. Definite downgrade, and I think people are over concentrating on the marginal gains. Second, Winged Nuisance. That's Winged Nuisance. And then Sacrilegious Fervor, replace Inviolable Resolve with an warrior only +2 arm, and when they die you get fury. So no more canceling knockdowns, pushes, places, etc. You get this essentially feat self-feeding defensive mechanic / economy overboost for fighting your army. The effects of this are, I hate to say this, old Umbra players, Befuddle was nerfed. This is a straight up nerf. Anything else is copium. Sacrilegious Fervor is a side grade and a compelling one, but it does reduce Bodan's dimensionality because Gorgerless are not nearly as potent as they once were with the prospect of IR. This is a caster that is pushed down into a very specific design niche and remains easily, hands down, the most powerful caster in your faction. He was not buffed.
Yep. I agree with that. IR being changed, that definitely was a side grade, and you losing range, making it a place. Removing Befuddle. But he's still very powerful. He's just a slightly different niche. Your list building is going to be slightly different.
I mean, we'll say like nerfed or side graded, but we are talking like the HMS Titanic, and somebody from Steamforged is up on deck diligently moving chairs. Bodan Lesnoy is still top of the heap, and it's not even close. Keith, any strong opinions on our bird throwing old man?
I mean, He was nerfed. You know, as long as people don't start playing Aslanov, I'm pretty happy.
Keith from the top rope with the aggressive self-interest. All right, let's briefly mention once again a change that matters a lot more for Winter Corps than Old Umbre. Sergeant Goran Lazarenko gains 2 armor, nice. Gains ambush and unstoppable, nice. Cut reposition 3, gun down to range 10.
Yeah.
I mean, Winter Corps had absolutely no ambush options. And the first 2 of those changes, like, yeah, it costs 4. I think Goran deserves it. And now it's like, not so sure. I would ask strong feelings about this, but I know not a single human being has ever had strong feelings about Goran Lazarenko.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the hate is real right now against the red team.
I actually really liked Goran Lazarenko with Repo 3. He was the mother of all babysitters. Maybe a touch overcosted. It cost 4. Repo 3 is definitely a hit. Yeah. I'm not sure he's the ambusher that Old Umbre needed, or not Old Umbre, Winter Corps needed or deserved, but maybe I'll get proved wrong.
I would have been okay with this change if they would have also reduced his point cost to 3.
Yeah. No, yeah, he's he's the opposite number of Bastion Falk, and honestly, without Repo 3 in range 12, he has no business costing 4 points. Exactly. Bastion Falk has no business costing 4 points independent of nerfs.
Winter Corps? Baronova nerfed.
Baronova nerfed. Savrin buffed. Yana Kavasky nuffed? Burfed? Zara Vilkul unabashedly buffed. Goran Lazarenko definitively nuffed. The end of this is like, this is all sound and fury signifying nothing. I mean, see nothing in here that impacts the status or fortunes of the faction whatsoever.
So agreed. It's not enough.
Let me say this, and Cass and I have had this conversation many times. Okay, when you're looking at Longshanks and you see the faction as a whole in a bad place,
nobody's positive. Nobody.
Yeah, it's not a problem with the casters. It's also a problem with the faction.
With the models themselves.
You need the models themselves in the faction.
Also, really I don't know who was clamoring for a buff to Savrin. Like, you could have picked anybody.
Now, in a midterm cycle, probably you don't want to touch the entire faction as much as it needs to be touched in order to bring it up to that closer to 50% win rate, right? It's a lot to ask in a midterm, right? So I think for what it is, I think they tried to make some positive changes without doing too much, and I think if that's the goal, I think they did that, and I commend them for that, for kind of giving a nod to the community that they're trying to bring up the faction, and this is a light touch, and hopefully we'll see more come January, right?
Actually, reading over this more soberly, because I was a bit blasé, the buffs to Vilkul actually are substantial. I think she's been criminally underplayed since the start of the year. I think people are underrating the impact of Behemoth with her between superiority and Fog of War triggering Prowl on a super heavy. She did get and like you said, Keith, the problem is actually like the underlying models, like the models you have to field outside of a caster are actually where the rub is. But okay, she ignores concealment full stop. not just generated by clouds, and including her own Fog of War. And then her axe gains Reload 1 and Weapon Master. I think there's a criminally underplayed caster that actually did get like kind of a terrifying, not a new avenue of play because she was always an assassin, but like she's really dangerous. And she doesn't even have to be in melee with you to be really dangerous. So, does it solve a faction that's broken in the wrong direction? No. Is this a real come up for Zara Vilcool? Yeah, probably.
I'll say this: I did see Chris play, I think, Vilcool in a game at Nova, and I was pretty impressed with what Vilcool actually could do by herself. It was pretty incredible. But you know,
I did have an online league game with an opponent where like we had a real back and forth attrition play game like Vilcool versus Boggity Bomb. I did see one of the classiest assassination runs I've ever seen in my life. Is okay, Vilcool's gonna like cyclone up and do X, Y, and Z, throw an axe at your caster who's already had to cut for fury, and then we're gonna take the chance that this that your high stakes flag explodes on you and finishes the job. And I'm like, damn, that's bold. The 1 and 3 didn't come up, but it was one of the most creative runs I'd ever seen for like a last ditch turn 7. I'm gonna kill you.
the problem and like the problem like Vilcool's personal output is really high, and she can do a lot, but like kind of like what I was saying about another caster, you know, that we haven't gotten to yet. It's like you can't really afford to put them into any kind of battle unless it's like bottom of 6,
Right.
top of 7, something like that. You know what I mean? Like
You say that, you say that,
16, 15 stat line is just not that survivable.
You say that, but my opponent in that game like shocked me. Like, oh, okay, turn 1, the Winter Core player runs all their stuff, and like I'm gonna counter deploy and blah blah blah. Like, you know, this is gonna be a conservative, grindy game. My eyebrows went up when top of 2, the Winter Core player is like, all right, so I'm gonna cyclone and pop feet, and my caster is gonna charge your army on top of 2, and I'm just going to commit to playing the entire game with her directly in your face and just bend my plan around. You don't get to kill her. So, you know, this may be to be a little crude, a cojones related issue.
I mean, she had blood
there are some players walking around with like gigantic brass filled undies that make this caster work.
I mean, sure, but like, you know how it is in competitive play. If you give your opponent a 10%er, they might have to take it, right? And then you might just lose 10% of the time, which isn't, you know what I mean? Which isn't ideal. Like if she had like blunt quench tokens or something like that, some other survivability mechanic where she was getting she was rewarding you for doing that, like it seems like that would be the play style, kind of like the missing piece that she's looking for is just like, you know, all right, if you're going to play her up the table, we're going to incentivize you to do it. And like, you know what I mean? Like go out there and get some, you know what I mean? And I think for Winter Core, that's fine. Like there's a history of those kinds of casters in Winter Core, right? Like, or
well, in Khador, not in Winter Core.
Sorry, in Khador. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but there's two things, you know. One, the fruit of boldness is victory. Like if it works, it works. You know, I don't even remember the other one. I think this is neat. And if she doesn't even have to like be right up in you smacking you to dump 2 blessed POW 13 Weapon Master ranged attacks before cycloning away, that's pretty hot.
Yeah.
Like her focus commit for the turn could be upkeep, upkeep superiority, upkeep fog of war, boost damage twice on thrown axes, and get away.
It could be. But then I would just tell you to play Kane. If that's the way you want to play our Lilith.
If you could play Kane in Winter Core, I would advocate this.
I mean, you can play Kane in 2 factions, so like,
All right. Well, let's talk more range supremacy and its victims. Lilith, Raven of Vengeance, Cut Warping Winds, Hush Full Draw reduced to range 10. Lilith is now forced to pay the Paragon tax and has a little bit less range on her stagger shot. Is this the end of the world? Probably not. And, I've mentioned to Dusk players, we're saying like, yeah, this sort of doesn't change her ranking. It's like, also, if you're willing to pay the Paragon tax, it actually changes up her game in slightly a good way because she's no longer anchored to her battle group. So their run and guns like allow them to keep playing while their range reduced. She can sort of free roam now, and that's a hell of an upgrade. As far as victims of the range game, Incarnate Knights go from 19 to 18 for armor. Maybe a bit too strong. I play Brines, so I wouldn't know.
well, I mean, they bumped it from 18 to 19 up during the January update, right?
Mhm.
But I don't think they were accounting for the fact that they were nerfing everybody else's damage output in one way or another, right? So like that +1 armor ends up really being like +2 armor or more. You know what I mean? Especially when you put the mat hits in as well. You know what I mean? I don't know. They're very difficult to remove, and especially in a faction that has access to solos that can further effectively increase their armor, right? Depending on how you want to do it.
Or particularly, I think the egregious one, if we're looking at where the balance point probably goes wrong, is Kirax with Dauntless Resolve. Rasic to a lesser extent, but I think Kirax is where it starts to get pushed into the territory of like the unreasonable for many armies.
And so they adjusted down. I don't think Lilith was substantially nerfed, but I think you will see less of her because of the nerfs, as is general with what.
I don't know. I have the opposite take. I think you'll I don't think you'll actually see diminished Lilith play at all. I think the only substantial change you're going to see is some Lilithless become 5% smaller. And that's actually a great balance tweak if you're talking about like, okay, the sum total of this balance change, because we know this caster is a bit out of line. If the sum total changes, they pay 5% more for the support package they're taking, but that the underlying kit is superlative. I don't think you're going to have less games against Lilith as a matchup. I think it's just you're going to see less Lilith in that many of the lists are going to be 5% smaller.
Let me ask you a quick question here, Cosma, for the audience. Did they change Colossals to not be affected by stagger?
Not that I'm aware of, unless it says that now.
I don't think it doesn't. Well, I have Crit Stagger up here. I mean, honestly, they should have made sure that the full draw was no greater than a spray 10 to be in line during the January changes where no sprays were greater than 10. The fact of the matter, though, is sure. But the fact of the matter is she's got effectively a pound 19 gun if she wants it, which is like kind of crazy, right?
Well, I think some of that is metagame adaptation because a lot of the Chimera players I've talked to have said like, yeah, at this point, like the full draw was super abusive to begin with, but I kind of don't mind this nerf because in the main, I've noticed my opponents have started to play around it, and most of the time I just choose the option of Lilith kills 3 guys every turn, because as
Yeah.
the gameplay develops, that actually winds up being the long run important option, versus full draw is like more niche tech rather than like wombo comboing your opponent's brains out every game.
Mhm. Adding to the changes here, we had a new model for this faction.
Oh, I figured we'd come to that at the end, but actually, yeah,
We can do that.
We're basically now all at the new stuff. I mean, yeah, let's do it that way. Keith, bring up that Shadow Seraph.
Yeah.
Give me your guys' hot takes.
I love this thing. I love this thing. I have one sitting on my painting desk right now. It is, I like the design space of it in terms of defensive piece. It is basically a 21-point Angelius. It's kind of reminiscent of the Angelius from Mark 1 in some ways. And I am excited to get it on the table and play it as a defensive piece. It's not like there's still a lot of ways to get around it to kill it, but as an asshole in the middle of the table to have to deal with and being able to protect it, like you have to either ignore it, which carries the risk of dealing with something that can fly that far and has an armor piercing tail. Yeah, I like it. It is 21 points though, so it's going to eat up a lot of your War Beast budget.
Well, it's quite durable. I don't think this is an all the time beast. I've heard people lament about its offense, but like, boy, can you add a lot of power in Shadow Flame Shard. You know, it hits decent. Does it hit 2 heavies worth? No, but does it hit a heavy and a half? For sure. The ruling on its ability to cast Animus during your opponent's turn is a bit of an Ipsy Dixit, a bit of a because I said so. And when we come to Fire Quill, we'll get into wording inconsistencies. But you know, apparently it just works. It can cast Animus during once per opponent's activation. This thing has a whole mess of defensive tools, whether it's buffing its own stat line, pushing enemy models away, or blinding them. You essentially have the option every time you're hit to augment your defensive game in one way or another. One point I will make: if you cast anything other than Roiling Darkness, your Roiling Darkness stacks expire. So, you know, you're somewhat timing sensitive. If it's late in the turn and a Smothering Gloom or Umbral Pulse pulls your bacon out of the fire, great, go with God. But do be aware your +1/+1 is conditional on not casting anything else.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think this beast is caster dependent. Like, you're going to want casters that can accentuate its ability. It actually has steady, unlike the Wyvern.
But you're also going to want casters who can accentuate its abilities. Like I think Sheerus is a great example. Or you're going to want casters who want what it does anyways. And I'm thinking here particularly of somebody like Kirax, who does want a tanky anchor piece to his army. But, you know, there's a greater appreciation for Shadow Flame Warriors these days. And Kirax doesn't necessarily want to be shilling out between like 30 and 34 points. So he might absolutely go in on a 21-point anchor that does as much work as he needs and is comparably tanky, but enables that second unit of death dealers or something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't sound like Fury management and stuff like that.
During your control phase, just pick however many you want. That's its current Fury.
Yeah, whenever it gets hit, it can remove a Fury, so it can cast those animi.
Well, it's specifically the tempered rage during your maintenance phase. If this model is within the battle group controller's control range,
Oh yeah,
you can remove any number of
Any
fury
number.
points. Just whatever. Don't worry about
Whatever.
it.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, this is a hell of a model. It's hard to theory craft this thing because so much of its aspect is like highly conditional, highly defensive, contextual, and honestly scenario oriented. I think this thing's great though, especially at that
Yeah.
cost.
Look, I don't know what you're talking about. This model's bad. Nobody should take it, especially in. But in all seriousness, one thing that I do like, the first thing that caught my attention is that it's got 40 boxes.
Yes.
None of the other 80 mils have 40 boxes that I'm aware of, even though I think
Scuttlebutt.
should. Does Scuttlebutt have 40 as well? More than 36? I'm glad they're getting away from the 36, and I'm hopeful that these boxes for the 80s will be adjusted up on some of the mercenary models. Because
Keith is over here like, listen here, when Bandit comes out, I need a damage grid 8 stacks high.
That's right.
Yeah. No.
Master on that
He's thinking about
gun
Connie.
and accumulated fire, and it stacks with synergy.
Yeah, it's Connie and Gallant. He wants Gallant to have 80 boxes.
That's right.
Oh man.
More unplayable trash. See, I'm so glad. You know, Stephen, we're really on the same page today. No, but seriously, I mean, it's exactly that. I mean, it's got a good amount of boxes. It's 1319, which is an excellent stat line. You know, and on top of that, with the animus stacking while it's getting its face punched in, right? Like it's much more likely to survive. I mean, it's gonna buff its stat.
I mean, realistically, this thing in many combat situations, like how often is this thing gonna have to go like harden the paint on offense during your turn? And like how often isn't it going to be able to cast one stack of roiling darkness to begin with? Like the thing realistically starts at 1420 for defensive stats.
Right. Well, and the other thing too is it doesn't really count against your battle group in terms of fury, right? Because it's however much fury you need it to have on it, right?
Yeah, and in a faction with so many Fury 6 warlocks, I'm sure they're pleased.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like in a game where everything overkills everything, this has a pretty good chance of going in, killing something, and surviving a round to get another to kill another thing afterwards. So
Yeah.
I think at its point cost, I think it's good. It's competitive with a it's an incentive not to take a true merc, right?
Yeah, and we did hear the design intention on this thing is. The intention is it takes multiple vectors to have a reasonable chance of killing this.
Right. So
which it certainly does.
All I've heard is that you've got to shoot it with Big Pig first and then go in on it with Kane.
All I've heard is you got to shoot at it with my 60 box bandit. All right. Let's talk Orgoth. 2 casters in, both hit. One maybe to their benefit and the other to the benefit of the metagame. So I'll start in reverse order. Sabreth, master of absolutely everything, lost inviolable resolve. Is anyone really sad about this? That on a moment of self-reflection says, doesn't say, no, yeah, this is reasonable.
Chris Gunther. I mean, I didn't even.
Damn, straight under the bus.
Straight under the bus.
Now master of most everything. Yeah. This caster does it all. If you were to take a hit 2 or 2, I think it's the thing that's most out of line with her shtick is crowd control and armor buffing. Like, okay, now thematically she's mostly just offense. And it's not so bad because her offense is still amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Caster coming back in the line. I don't know, do you guys have any thoughts on Sabrith players rending their garments and throwing themselves onto the ground in ritual displays of sadness?
Yeah, no. She still has probably one of the best, if not the best, spell list in the game. That's not. And they just removed IR from it. Like,
I mean, I can understand why Sabbath players would be upset because IR is a pretty huge. It does allow her to shore up weaknesses. It does allow her to basically put a medium base unit around her and keep her safe from any incoming fire that might potentially not allow her to optimize her offensive output by being far enough up the table to, you know what I mean, take advantage of it. But you know, I don't know, Jay. She's still amazing.
I don't know. Yeah, she's still
how
like
indeed, Jeff? How would you not?
Yeah, I know. I trust me, I'm with you. I love Butcher. I mean, you know, looking at it from a, you know, if you were already in the Sabrith boat, you know, coming into the mid for WTC, you know what I mean? Like, I could see where this could be. It might make you rethink yourself a little bit, or at least make you rethink what you're putting in your list to keep Sabrith safe. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's the only real thing. I mean, she still does what she does. She's still one of the best casters in the game, and I think in an army that has a lot of answers as well. So
yeah.
As far as Kishtar goes, so this one I anticipated seeing a lot more discomfort. Death Whispers down to or up to range 12, cut fire group, gain banishing ward. Now this seems like a more severe change than Helith, but Helith actually dropped to like a win rate of about 1/3 over this past weekend. Thank you, Ryan Chiraboga, for that little factoid. But I'm actually super glad I got to staple some tournament experience before doing this this talk about the new changes. One of my guys, Chris Zaborowski, was down in Tucson running Kishtar actually, and mostly in a melee battle group configuration with a strong combined arms force that's actually looking to leverage Pandemonium, not with, you know, volume of high quality shots, but by volume of attacks, full stop, and saying, oh, by the way, both my scything flail heavies get to warpath move every time. So against 90% of armies, I just straight up out threat you.
I mean, to me, I think that's probably how she was intended to be played.
That's not surprising at all, and it's much more synchronous with what I would have expected designer expectations to be like.
But I think the problem is they maybe weren't thinking about how impactful Fire Group was going to be, especially with the ability to both have Hunter and Eyeless Sight on models in the faction. Not necessarily that they're taking multiples of that, because it is very expensive to do that, but you know, it is very disconcerting to sit across the table and feeling like there's nothing you can do about this model from shooting you, right? Like,
Banishing ward.
Yeah, it's a hell of a spell.
Yep. I like the addition of Banishing Ward, having more of that anti-magic flair that Orgoth does. Being able to protect valuable pieces. In terms of the mixed arms thing, I'm excited to see that because you have more models in the way to keep her alive. Because her just dying, it's like the Kane issue. is just dying, just falling over, which
Mhm.
I actually believe is the Helith issue too. Is casters like that,
Sure.
they just fall over.
Right, yeah, because Helith has her feat turn of, quasi invulnerability, and then after that, I mean, Helith is just Denny one with guns. She's Denny one with guns. Her feat is
Mhm.
chopped up and like reworded in a specific way so that you don't realize that this is -2 mat, -2 strength, -2 def,
Mhm.
-2 arm. But that's what she is.
Yeah.
She's Denny one with guns. And like Denny one, she runs in terror when it's not feat turn. All right. Shall we move on to the long prophesied Kithgard trapdoors?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Kithgard trapdoors.
They get stomped on by colossals and gargantuans and nothing else.
Those poor trapdoors.
Yeah, and I mean the thinking on this is, we heard it months ago, like basically as soon as the faction was out the gate, that there was consideration that like trapdoors as movement blocking abilities may be too powerful, so we'll have 80s and 120s stomp on them just like defenses. I'm glad Steamforge didn't knee jerk and do that, because I think it
Yeah.
actually has turned out like the only like because I mean we've all played into Kithgard at this point. The trapdoor mechanics seem fine. You're able to surround them if you need to and dictate deployment choices to your opponent, but it's nice that they get it and they don't, just have their faction shtick turned off. I think the design thinking is this mechanic only turns abusive when it's shutting down a third of your opponent's army. Just for showing up. Like battle engines ain't a third of your opponent's army. Your 9.80 mil ain't a third of your opponent's army. It's just this one specific model category that gets screwed over hard in a way that makes the game unfun, and giving them the ability to not make their own game unfun by not making all Kithgard games unfun, I think seems perfectly fair. That's my take. As like, I wouldn't even say I'm sympathetic to Kithgard, but like I'm very understanding of this design decision and it seems right intuitively to me. How about to you guys?
I'll say that I like that it was a very tempered response, because I think I did hear initially that they were going to count the trapdoors as defenses, which would then allow 80 mils. Which would then allow 80 mils and 120s to just immediately destroy them. So this kind of like what you said, it allows the 30-point models to not like be completely screwed by the trapdoors, and not allows the trapdoors not be completely screwed by everything that would be 80 mil or larger. So I think that's a very good response, and also I am interested to see like how much the Kithgard Colossal plays into that, since I believe it also counts as like a walking trapdoor potentially.
It's going to be very conditional wording because there are so many weird Kithgard wordings around trapdoors. I mean, you don't want an enemy colossal going base to base with your colossal to kill it. And maybe from a design perspective, you don't necessarily want
Funny.
your colossal to bring its own carnage bubble with Craghorn.
Right.
Oh man, we have the arch sex man himself making a grilled cheese. How's it going, Brad? Oh man. Since we're doing new releases in line, why don't you guys give me your alpha thoughts on General Gunbjorn? What do you guys think of where this guy's landed? He of the 4 guns.
He of the
mean,
4.
I think he landed in a tank, and I'm pretty happy about that. I think it's a great model choice for a guy named Gunbjorn.
Yeah, you all remember the lock and load the lock and load keynote where Matt Hart is talking about like, I see you've put him in a tank. Can we still give him the rocket launcher? uh, which is a bold aesthetics driving design philosophy, and here he is with all of them. I have heard some people say this guy band-aids crucial Kithgard weaknesses. Um, uh, it's probably too long of a discussion to get into now, but I'm of the opinion that actually Kithgard doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. And while this
Mhm.
guy isn't like faction messiah, for his purported solutions to things that are tactically solvable, he's very, very good and a strong contender for like pick 2 of 3 in your pair.
Mhm.
Max from Texas, who we're going to be interviewing next week, had a very strong paradigm for Kithgard casters. Are you trapdoors as resource or trapdoors as vector? Gunbjorn is one of the very strong trapdoors as resource. I think he's a great addition to the faction.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah, go ahead.
Rune Mark, the line of sight ignoring is not the operative part. A bunch of quality gun warrior models getting boosted to hit is nutso butso.
Yes.
Being able to
Yeah, it
shoot through
is.
buildings is so. Literally everybody boosted to hit is like you've got a defensive formation sitting there and they're riddled with bullets going, what is happening to me? It's cost 3 Deadeye every model in your army. Sorry, I cut you off, Cass. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is, yeah, he has a lot of the resources. The gun bonus, the bonus hit, the boosted attack rolls. The dead eyeing is really good on the high power guns that they have available for their infantry. In terms of like, you've got like throat cutters. You get to just boost all of your infantry, and has a lot of defensive capability. That yeah, I'm a fan of army impervious flesh, in terms of reducing dice, and he's just got trapdoors giving out armor, having rock walls. It's a good defensive stuff on top of we're going to shoot you to death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Keith, any take homes for you?
I'm so glad that they've decided to cut down on the shooting meta.
Well, actually, I looked at Gunbjorn's card again while we are doing this, and I'm like, oh, everything I said about everything I said about the reasonableness of the trapdoor decision. Maybe I should just put that back in my mouth, because Gunbjorn has Rockwall. So if you're running an army that's 50 mils or smaller, maybe he can just abuse the pants off of you. Maybe you'll never get a charge that succeeds because you're not legally allowed to have one.
it's true.
Okay. Any other thoughts on Gunny?
I mean, he looks really very strong, but it's hard. Like, you look at it through the lens of your own faction, right? And you're like, would I take this guy in my faction? Yeah. I mean, do I think he's better than McCoy? Probably.
I mean,
I don't know.
I'm
But
in terms of comparisons, like I think he is in the upper tiers of their casters. I would have to consider, like, because I love Stormcrawl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would have to consider, like, because they both have very defensive things, but Gunbjorn's bonus to guns is just so crazy.
Mm-hmm. For me, the top 3 is Gunbjorn, Tarja, Rotmorn. but I don't
Mhm.
think the split is that hard. Like even between the top and the bottom of their faction, there's a very tightly clustered array of factions. And I think Gunbjorn emerging as like one of the default 3 casters is not necessarily like a bad indicator or that he's out of line. It just means he's offering something that's needful right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think, you know, I really need to withhold judgment until I see how he actually plays on the table. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just, theory machine, yeah, he has a lot of very strong abilities. Will they necessarily work out the way that I think they will? Hard to say, right? Like, I think that's kind of
I've had my frogs make surprise death noises to Gunbjorn, so I can assure you he's quite good.
yeah. Three dice to hit on trooper models is good. Like Deadeye was a good spell at 2 cost model on a model unit. Now granted back then there was 10 models in a unit, but still, the size scales, right? Like there's now only 5 guys in a unit, right? So 5 guys with Deadeye is good. But like now you can have multiple units for an extra point. I don't know.
I mean, cut to Gary Oldman shouting everyone from Leon the Professional. Like that spell affects everyone.
I know. It's just it's a lot. It seems I know it's a 3 cost and that makes it in theory prohibitively expensive, but I don't know. It's 3 cost for a reason. Maybe it should be like 4 cost. I don't know.
It's right at 3. It's good. And I mean, I think part of the reason it's right at 3 is you're having to get the trapdoor marker to the appropriate place is the 4th cost. That said, unlike a bunch of trapdoor abilities, you do have the opportunity to set up before triggering, unlike say ambushing out. So trapdoors is resource versus vector. I think he's an epigone.
Trolls.
Brine Bloods.
Bloods.
Starting from the bottom up, actually, Lockabash Brothers get touched. -1 defense, -1 arm. So they're 12-13 now. Baseline defense troll, keep set defense. The more I've had to think about this, the more I'm like, I wish they cut a point from their cost with this. Because like, yeah, I understand how they're a negative play experience in their 13-20 form. Man, Marauder crew suck butts right now. Their defensive stats are so bad. It's unpardonable how bad the defensive stats of this faction are, and that their output is not balanced around it. The one survivable thing you have is probably at a reasonable point for kill ability, but the army is not. That should probably come with a cost drop. And like this has been me noodling on this for like a week and a half. What do you guys think?
I'll tell you what I think.
Brought in a range or a little too far?
I'll tell you what I think. I think they should have cut set defense and left everything else the same.
I think that's fair. That would have been my preference for the changes without a cost drop.
Because the problem is that set defense kind of really negated your opponent's ability to put meaningful damage on them at a volume,
right? Because if you charge,
right?
Your charge attacks just don't hit.
Right.
And you
or
need to
less
charge on non-heavies to kill these dorks.
Right, exactly.
And you need to charge on heavies because they're way far back defending a distant 40.
Right. And I think that gives enough damage across a number of attacks, or that'll help give enough damage across the number of attacks that would. Now, I didn't obviously test this, and Privateer Steamforge probably, maybe did. And they went ahead with what they felt like made sense, but I don't know. It does seem like the models being able to charge it, even if they don't kill them, it feels like they put so much damage on them that, you know what I mean, that they're not long for the world. Whereas before, I feel like you couldn't charge them, you couldn't shoot them, you couldn't, you know what I mean? You had no options. And now, just removing set defense, I think would have been a simple, elegant, change that would have, allowed them to still feel survivable without being too survivable.
Yeah. Cass, how about you?
I think 8 points.
8
For what
points.
they've done, 8 points. Like,
Oh my god. Sorry,
I think
I have baby kittens here.
I see.
They're stepping on my keyboard.
Smitten by kittens.
We're fostering. They're turning 8 weeks this week.
Oh.
Next week. That's Nutmeg screaming. He's a little monster. Cats.
Yes.
Sorry,
to all of our live people with us in chat, this is how we unabashedly get extra subscribes. Is by just
cats.
putting kittens on screen randomly.
Yep.
Ella's saying, if you're in the Phoenix area and you're looking for a kitten, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think 8 points.
Yeah. Yeah, I think wait, is this, I mean, I think we're all of the opinion like this isn't where they should be, but are any of us of the opinion that like, yeah, there maybe went a little too far, but did they go too far?
The issue is, you mentioned you've been having issues with the rest of the infantry, right? The Marauder crew just not living. So, and the price point for them, if they're going to be 9 points with the way everything else is costed and how everything else works, they just had a little bit too much taken from them.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it isn't quite right.
Especially since Marauder crew is theoretically all offense, no defense, except they're not really because they're base mat 6. And the Lakabash brothers are all defense, no offense. This isn't literally true, but like, yeah, they're just kind of they're kind of out of sync with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they're POW 16 charges and they've got range 12, POW 12 guns. I wouldn't say they have no offense. I mean, they're not swinging.
Their guns with Snapfire are actually literally their best offensive attribute. That's where I've realized almost all their value.
Yeah, I was going to say if they had 2 of these POW 14 brutal charges, I would say they'd have a pretty good offensive ability, right? Like POW 16 charges is pretty solid. With two of them, or a power 16 and a power 14 wouldn't be terrible. You know what I mean? If they were going to have some sort of offense. Yeah, the heavy rifle range 12, POW 12. So this is really what you want on a defensive unit, right? Is you want them to be able to sit on a flag or a 40 mil, and then also be able to contribute with a range 12 POW 12 gun, right? With Snapfire, so you could actually kind of like move a little bit off of the 3 inches, right? And I mean, fire back in.
No, Snapfire is not Swift Hunter. It's make an extra shot on kill.
Oh,
the situation where I found they particularly shine is like, okay, Pig Dirge runs in, Lakabash brothers aim, and they obliterate an entire unit of Winter Corps infantry.
But they've got Human Wave.
It doesn't work if they're all dead. Lakabash brothers do make 6 ranged attacks with their mediocre rat if you set the buffs up right.
I mean, rat 8 is not mediocre. I would say rat 6 is almost elite.
Let's be honest, it's Brian's. We're talking rat 10.
Okay, well, fair.
I did also get to live the dream once and have the Blackfire snap or Black Spot Snapfire combo actually tee off. Where I black spot something, Lakabash brothers shoot it, black spot attack into another unit, Snapfire back into the black spot unit, black spot attack into something else, Snapfire back in. I think I had Durgle kill like 8 models on his activation. That was hilarious. But like, I can't stress enough how 1 in a million that situation is.
I was gonna say you can't stress enough how much offense they don't have.
No, we're
Well-
talking like full on cosmic alignment, like, you know, from Hercules when all the planets line up precisely and let the Titans out. That's what we're talking about.
We're talking about Crit Shred living the dream.
I did also see that last year. A friend of mine sent an Invictus in on a Mastodon and literally never once missed a crit shred. The Mastodon died and Invictus ended activation on 2 focus.
That's funny.
Oh man. All right, shall we move on to Captain Firequill? This is
Yeah.
not as bad as it could have been. I think we were talking about range casters who, like Kane, who sort of didn't get touched, but there's an argument that statistically shouldn't be. Cut Field Marshal Blackpenny, gain Field Marshal Runic Ammunition, which is you kill an enemy model, you get to cast an Animus, limit once per activation. And his feat changes to True Sight for battle group only. Unlike the Shadow Seraph, this ability just doesn't work. Shadow Seraph's ability to cast Animus during your opponent's turn just works. This, even though the wording is exactly consistent with that, does not mean that your king can counterblast, kill somebody, and immediately recast counterblast, which is probably fine for a balanced perspective, knowing that these are Ipsy Dixit rulings. But it is a little weird, and don't let your desire for legal consistency confuse you. Thoughts on Firequill? He was not nuked from orbit. Is he
No.
still serviceable? I think so. What do you guys
I think so.
I mean, I think they should have removed Fortune Hunter. I mean,
what?
I'm
What?
kidding.
That's the nuked from orbit. This caster no longer exists again. Keith, he spent 2 years. He spent 2 years living on Elba. Like, what do you mean you want to banish the Emperor again?
Look. Okay. How long has Kane been in this game? He has walked that walk for a long time. Same with Lilith. How long has Lilith been in the game? Okay. Firequill has not been through Mark 1 and Mark 2. You know, he doesn't get to stand on the same level as those other casters. You know.
Look, all I'm saying is if we're gonna depose Napoleon a second time, let's at least put him to death rather than throw him on Saint Helena. Like let's at least formalize that yes, we are killing him. Steamforged opted not to kill him this time around.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think that the runic ammunition is probably better than. I mean, I obviously don't play.
It's objectively not. Brine Blood Animi, aside from the it just doesn't work counterblast, have no synergy with this ability whatsoever. Like maybe every once in a while your frog will go into melee, shoot a dude with its tongue, and get free flamey fists. There's no synergy on tap in this faction with that. It actually, like, I understand that Black Penny on the entire battle group enabled your army to be way too efficient at self-clearing a jam, but runic ammunition is kind of a non-ability, and it's probably fine that it is.
Gotcha.
Brine Blood battle groups suck at shooting. They're so bad. They either don't have main guns or they don't have real animi or both. Like,
but you could go
it's actually a bad ability.
You could go.
It's a bad ability on a very good caster to, and it's offsetting a great ability.
I mean, you can get a free counterblast, right? As opposed,
you can get a free counterblast. You just can't chain counterblast and a counterblast on your opponent's
right.
turn.
So I mean,
even though that's legally how the reading of Shadow Seraph works.
Sure, but before you would have had to pay for counterblast if you were taking Abyssal King in Fire.
No, that's true. That's true.
Right, and now you don't. I don't know.
It nestles into a weird spot, like in terms of your focus map on non-feat turns, because a lot of people kind of don't understand that actually Firequill's feat is not like, oh, my army does so much more range damage than it used to. Like, your infantry dorks kind of have qualitatively only okay guns. It doesn't transform their output. What this actually does is a massive efficiency gain. On your feat turn, turns out you don't need to pay for efficiency, either in terms of animus or in terms of boosts. Your guns just work way on curve for what are otherwise inefficient platforms. If you're talking counterblast animi, it means your king can still boost to the 9s and get counterblast up without offsetting output. So again, it's not transformative. It's more like his shooters just run a little bit beyond the efficiency gradients that you'd expect otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, Morozov jammed my entire army. I am going to kill all his dudes and all his shifted, before I begin to advance on scenario because I ignore target and melee.
Right. I mean, he got nerfed. He's unplayably bad. Everybody move off Firequill.
He's absolutely not unplayably. Oh, wait. It's Keith again from the top rope with the self-interest. All right.
It's like you've been waiting all day to do this.
I mean, I have to remove Fortune Hunter because I don't want both Kane and Firequill to be standing on opposite hills with Bastion Falk next to them and being able to shoot each other with reciprocate off, missing each other,
Oh my God, Cat.
So the old scuttlebutt.
Yeah, I was gonna move on to Axis, but old scuttlebutt. Old Buttlebutt, the excuse to name all your caster or all your army lists part of your caster's name plus the word butt. So we got boom butt, we got rage butt, we got fire butt,
shadow butt,
we got shadow butt, we got foul butt, and I guess we have boggity butt.
Boggity butt, yeah.
Yeah, old scuttlebutt. This guy is interesting. He's again 40 boxes. His defensive profile at 921 carapace to 25 is quite good, but he doesn't feel like a colossal in terms of his survivability. He's more survivable than a heavy, but he's not, like quote unquote invincible or as much of a major commit as a colossal. He is very tanky for a super heavy. Not bulletproof.
But he has 22 points as well, so he is.
Woo, and
he's up there.
He's got carapace. I would say he is bulletproof.
Well, yes, he's bulletproof, but he's not swordproof. Okay. Another thing about Scuttlebutt that is not like necessarily anticipated when reading him. He hits harder than a Deepborn Dire Troll, but not by much. If you're looking at a max offense Deepborn Dire Troll, you're looking at a Minnow Anchor Deepborn, same hitting power. Fury 5 versus Fury 4 free charges, they hit about the same. Scuttlebutt does hit above par for the game, but it's not legendary. Where this model really comes into his own and justifies 22 points is the whole package. He debuffs defense on his POW 20 melee weapon, so even if he doesn't get the job done, he sets models up to die. He particularly sets casters up to die if you're double stacking with a frog. He has multiple ranged attacks. He has the option for Swift Hunter. He has the option for Sidestep. He threat extends your infantry on one of his, or all your models on one of his guns. He threat extends your infantry on any advance by up to 3 inches. It's complicated and convoluted to use, and this model burns a lot of cognitive cycles because you essentially have to know what he's doing next turn, this turn. But he also gives cover, and on and on and on and on. This model does a lot of things. He is always relevant. He is always performing. Brine Bloods has the option for a lot of out of activation movement. between Tantrum and Avenging Force and Enliven and Reposition 3 and on and on and on. Scuttlebutt honestly gets better the more out of activation movement you staple on him, because Hold On Lads just triggers once per turn, but it's on any advance. So it can be on an Avenging Force advance. It can be on a walk. It can be on a trample. It can be on a sidestep. It can be on a Swift Hunter. It can be on a Repo 3.
It can be on a Perdition.
It can be on a Perdition too. Yeah, exactly. No, yeah. Like I've had games where like a Battle Brig like surges up into my opponent's lines, like blasts a bunch of trash down, Scuttlebutt activates, walks up, shoots some things like Swift Hunters up to the Brig, and then takes a Repo move and drags the Brig out, giving it Repo 8. Like, this guy does everything if you're willing to put the brain sweat in. Does he do anything more than what is possible otherwise, aside from threat extend other models? No, not really. And honestly, like, threat extending other models between Hold On Lads and Beacon is tricky. So aside from threat extend, he does nothing that isn't doable, but boy, does he do all those things well. I think he's the very model of what a model in this point range should be. Loads of options, loads of flexibility, something a little bit new, but really demanding on you as a player to realize value. The more time I put in with Scuttlebutt, the more I think he's like nothing exceptional and totally transformative.
Oh man, this guy seems really good. I mean, look at the defensive options he's got. He says arm 20, but really he's arm 21, right? Because one of his
Because he's got the
armed
buckler.
gun has a buckler, right?
Yeah.
So arm 21 with Carapace, like you said, makes him arm 25 versus shooting, which is really, like, even boostable guns are typically POW 15 at the higher end, and you're really, maybe doing a damage, right? Like he's nigh unshootable at armor 25 versus range, right? He's got a Rat 5 spray 12 with Beacon.
If you're bringing really Magabasa, nice, he can actually fire that with ancillary attack before his activation and get his own threat range up 2 inches.
Steven, plug your ears. He's got this tri-cannon. He's got range of fire 2. So he's got 3 guns. Like,
he also has reload 1, which is like, it's actually kind of advantageous for him to have reload 1, because, like, say he charges something, sidesteps in deeper, he's firing his little pistol cannon, he's killing bros, and then particularly if he has Ravager from Bragan on him where he gains Berserk. Oh, I've killed all the dudes around me. I'm going to buy an attack with that gun, Swift Hunter into another pack of dudes, and resume killing.
Oh my gosh. So I am going to say that this and the Seraph, the Shadow Seraph, I love the design space they're going in with these 80
I hope this is a paradigm for super heavies going forward, because they're so well
designed.
So
do I. I love them so much.
I can only say, based on Mark II, that I hope Bandit is the last 80 mil to be released. Mark II, the way it worked was Signar always got released first, and it was good. And then every release after that was a little bit better than the one before it, right? And by the end, when it was Crix, it was always like over the top good. I just hope Bandit is that last release. That's the over the top good one. Although I'd be okay if it's Connie. But
yeah, I'm loving this design space. I hope we see it more, because it's like it kind of epitomizes different pieces of the faction, and I love that it does take a lot of brain work in terms of using it for its point dedication. It makes it a very engaging model, fun on the table, even in non-competitive levels. You just keep discovering more things that you can do with this model.
And it's like, okay, so for the mercenary models, right? You're paying 20 points and you're getting a similar model, but you're really getting two models, right? You're getting a cohort and you're getting a solo, right? So you're making it easier for you to score 50 mil objectives and flag
Mm-hmm.
terrain, right? With that, right? And that's 20 points. Like you need something like Scuttlebutt and the Star Seraph, which are slightly more expensive and one less model, but have a lot of really good synergistic rules to really make you consider taking it. And obviously, they take the faction buffs as well to make you
Mm-hmm.
really consider taking it over what is already, I think, very competitive models
Right.
in the
Well, yeah,
mercenary
yeah.
options, right?
Well, and Brine Bloods, Shadow Flame to a certain extent, but Brine Bloods are just allergic to taking mercenaries. So,
Yeah.
nice for them.
All right.
Uh,
Axis.
yeah, let's move through these quick because we're hitting up against time. Axis Harmonic Enforcer,
Oh,
also known
right.
as the literally who of convergence
Uh,
casters. Is this
yeah.
is this impactful? And did anyone notice?
So I actually noticed because this is my favorite caster in the faction,
Sure.
I
and
absolutely noticed as well.
the 2 cents I have to say about this is I love that Ray's wall is a wall, but the feat was enough.
That is quite nice.
The feat
That
was
almost
enough.
feels like future proofing than like particularly building around his balance, though.
Yeah, I agree. But his feat was a nerf because let me tell you, you can run after you feat with him now, but just like what happens when you get too far forward with him with the old feat, he just dies.
Yep.
That's what happens. He just dies. Like you would be surprised how easy it, well, maybe you wouldn't be surprised on how easy it is just to kill a 1418 model with a bunch of boxes. He doesn't have any good survivability mechanics. So
Yeah.
he's just going to die. Like, and you lost the offensive portion of the feat, which is the main thing that I actually used it for, was the threat range extension and the power extension. Like,
Yeah.
But
on the note of threat range and power extension, Axis.
We lost you as soon as you picked up the cat.
Yep.
I don't hear you. You muted your mic. Cosma. We don't hear you. There you go. Nope, still don't hear you.
Nope. I saw it mute and unmute.
Yeah, I think he tried to fix it, but he did not.
The cat ate.
One of the cats sabotaged you. We have lost Cosma. Yeah, we still don't hear you. All right. Anyways, Cosma didn't have anything to say about convergence. He doesn't play that faction, anyways.
Well, it was the 2-inch reach on those hammers, which at the end of the game that'll be relevant as a personal threat. Is Axis a good personal threat? I wouldn't recommend it. It's not going to be until the end of the game.
I mean, having seen Axis being played a lot, because Cass played Axis quite a bit, especially coming into the new year, like it's absolutely true. Anytime Cass walked forward to get the enemy models in Axis's feet range, I mean, it was just too hard to keep Axis safe. There's always something that can. I mean, the gun ranges are just such that 14 inches is like nothing. Anything can shoot 14 inches. Like most things have a range 12 gun. You only have to walk 4 inches to be in range of him, right? Like, and even being just out of the feet is enough for you to still shoot him, right? So like any kind of knockdown, any kind of defense lowering or anything like that will enable Axis to get hit. I think he just suffers from a volume of attacks, and he just dies if he gets back.
Yep.
Nope, we still don't hear you. Good try though, Alex. Where did you want to go after convergence, or did we have more to talk about with convergence?
Oh, we have Grimkin and we have Infernals to go through.
Okay, which would you like to do? Next? I have one of those. I have Grimken, and
Okay.
I have
So
Infernal. So whichever one you want to do.
yeah, so we lost arcane machinery on Zavana Aga, which arcane machinery was our point cost reduction.
I think the issue with Zavana Aga was that I don't think she was originally
Or
in.
it's the calibrations she lost specifically. The
Yeah,
same thing that that Spark Hammer has. That -1 cost.
yeah, but the thing of it is I think she was not maybe originally intended to have the Arcana that Grim can have, and so I think
She
they kind of were trying
she,
to
she
find.
was
Go ahead.
she
Go ahead.
was not, as is testified to the fact that she used to have a feat.
Yep.
Um, it's also worth remembering that I think the primary reason, which has been covered in in design discussions about this, or the main justification that's been given, is that boundless charge is more
Yeah.
powerful than it used to be, and specifically spamming it turned out to be a problem. Now, I don't know about 7 boundless charges. I'm like, what in God's name do you have to boundless charge 7 times? It's more like, yeah, I can see this when it's boundless charge for 1, maybe twice, windstorm once, drop a cloud, and do something else. Like, oh yeah, that's kind of a lot to have going on.
Mm-hmm.
But boundless charge in and of itself is not the apocalypse. I just think it's symptomatic of what's going on with her. So it makes sense to me. Will I defend it to my dying breath? No, but I can
Yeah.
buy the rationale. Seems fine. Seems like this caster is still very good.
Agreed.
By the
Agreed.
way, the what creature, the biggest of the kittens, managed to not only mute my microphone but disable my laptop keyboard. So without a hard reset, I'm now just stuck to my phone. I don't even know how he
Oh
did
my
it, but
gosh.
here we are. Thank you, creature.
Slaughterhouse losing a fury.
Losing a fury and getting into the light brought back in the line. Into the light had a serious counter. Like, if you're at cheap accessible shield guards, okay, this ability's fine. You got a balanced model position around it. You have counterplay, but it has the ability to tax your resources. If you don't have cheap, affordable shield guards into the house, guess what? You're about to get exploited, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yep. Absolutely. Like,
I don't know.
This is probably
You're breaking up pretty bad. You should come in and not be outside smoking a cigarette while you're on the cast, because we can't.
Oh no! It's specifically having my phone in my pocket while I'm trying to wrestle the babies down to.
I see.
That makes sense.
And he's gone again. I was gonna say, to me, like, I think really the issue with Slaughterhouse was really just the lasting light. I mean, you're still paying 26 points for this guy, which is kind of cheap for a colossal, I guess. I don't know. Fury 4, he's got POW 19s, or 2 POW 19s and a POW 21.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've seen this guy on the table quite a bit in War Table, and I really haven't. Aside from the porch light, I really haven't been that impressed with him, or haven't seen him do too much that is really that impressive that I felt like his offense needed to be nerfed, but maybe I just haven't seen enough. Now, I will say that his defense is pretty good in faction due to the armor stacking with their 80 mil, which its name escapes me at the moment.
Death
Um,
knell.
Death Knell.
Yeah, the
So,
death knell.
Is my audio back, by the way?
It is,
Like,
yeah.
tonight
Yes.
is not my night for tech.
Yes. You were fine until if it wasn't for those meddling cats.
Those meddling
It's
kids.
It's also
No, kids
important
would
to
be goats.
mention that it is a construct.
Yeah, it is. And so like decrepidation works against
Well,
it.
no.
Specifically,
you do not have-
cannot frenzy.
it can't frenzy.
Right.
So that is, I can see that being the reason for the fury reduction, because it is a construct. Because you
mean-
don't have to.
The other alternative is, well, you can bring down its offense, or you can bring down its survivability. Personally, I would have liked to see survivability go, but bringing down his offense isn't the end of the world.
Mhm.
I mean, honestly, like, they could have nerfed nothing else, and as long as they touched into the light, I'm happy. He's fine. Not even that the ability was, like, broken per se, but, like, holy
There's no
smokes, was
counterplay.
that a negative play experience?
Yeah. And I think the only other change we have is Agathon lost Sacred Ward Field Marshal.
Oh, this one I got a bit of a gripe with.
Yeah.
So anyone who's been following like the competitive metagame and how that cascades down to Infernals pairings knows that, you know, for essentially like 3 years, Agathon was sort of a non-entity or a bit of a marginal figure at best. It turns out Infernals having Sacred Ward, independent of Omidamos and Zadaroth not being metagame relevant, like made the faction a bit of a force, because a lot of metagame answers that there were out there to Infernals did not like having their spells turned off against heavies or colossals. And this January update actually flipped a switch on Agathon, where like the inclusion of this one ability totally transformed the fates of the faction, because the other casters aren't really relevant, and it flipped a lot of his matchups in a positive direction. Now, the beef I have is like, okay, maybe that's too strong. Maybe it's not great for the dynamism of a pairing. But like, you guys went to all the trouble of saying, oh yeah, you know, all this spell denial is a little bit too much. So let's add a midway point of, you know, between Sacred Ward and nothing, called Magic Resistance. Let's print it on precisely one model in Dusk and then never mention it again.
I don't know what you're talking
Like-
about. That doesn't exist.
Okay,
Double-
maybe Agathon was a little strong, but there was probably a halfway house that at least gave lip service to Magic Resistance being a real ability. And what's interesting about that is it specifically would not incentivize Colossal play with Agathon, because the Colossals are defense garbage. The Heavies are defense garbage too, but it would have been something. So, you know, I'm almost looking at it as more like a missed opportunity than a severe balance problem. Like, you know, like I mentioned up front, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe he could have just been objectively too powerful, but I think it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that Infernals is kind of where it's at right now, because I feel like it's kind of been a little bit abandoned since it's been able to be printed. And I don't think it's because it's been able to been printed. I mean, since the January update would be more
with the only other update being the release of Vorgoroth.
Right, but they don't. Infernals, as far as I understand, are not doing particularly well in the meta right now. Is more kind of what I am meaning, and I'm not exactly sure.
7 days ago, they were doing phenomenal.
Oh, were they? Okay, well, never mind.
Yeah, great. Arguably best faction by percentages.
All right. Well, I take back everything I said then.
sorry to be a wet blanket, Keith. I know you were
Fine.
I know you were working up the righteous indignation, and then I just shot you down.
No, I mean it's hard. I don't really have as much access to the stats as I did currently, so it's hard. I know they were struggling there for a while, so I don't know what caused their numbers to go back up, but if there's been new developments in the meta for them or some other thing, but
Yeah.
it seems like they were struggling. So if they found their way again, then I mean, good for them. I am under the impression that I know Cody's not on them, but I think that's more of a WTC team choice rather than a Cody wanted to, abandon them.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And Team One is super conscientious about their overall comp. And for USA Team One, these are players with incredibly broad and deep metagame views. They're pushing a year of really remarkable insights, and I think they have a lot of latitude to make very nuanced changes. So, Cody would almost certainly be comfortable on Infernals, but they're making some deep cuts.
All right. I think that covers everything.
Yeah.
So that's an episode.
I was planning on this being like a short one, like maybe me ranting for like 30, 45 minutes to camera. But Cass and Keith, thank you guys so much for hopping on. We've had a real romp for, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Going through this whole thing. So I'd much rather that than me look like an insane person and ranting about my enemies list. Thank you guys for coming on. Thanks everyone for viewing.
Absolutely.
Keith,
how am I
take
supposed
us
to end
away.
How am I supposed to end the stream without the Queen wave?